कुरान के मालिक गुजारिश है तुझसे मेरे दिल में कुरान बसा मेरे मौला।
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अत्तलाक़ु मर्रतान फ़इम्साकुम बिमअरूफ़िन औ तस्रीहुम बिइहसान वला यहिल्लु लकुम अन तअख़ुज़ू मिम्मा आतैतुमूहुन्न शयअन इल्ला अन यख़ाफ़ा अल्ला युक़ीमा हुदूदल्लाह फ़इन ख़िफ़्तुम अल्ला युक़ीमा हुदूदल्लाह फ़ला जुनाह अलैहिमा फ़ीमा इफ़्तदत बिह तिल्का हुदूदुल्लाहि फ़ला तअतदूहा वमन यतअद्दा हुदूदल्लाहि फ़उलाइका हुमुज़्ज़ालिमून। This revocable divorce is up to 2 times. Women must then be taken back on good terms or released with kindness. And it is not lawful for you to take back from the women a portion of what you have given them, meaning the dowry, except when both fear that they will not establish the limits of Allah. If you then fear that they, meaning the husband and wife, will not remain on those exact limits of Allah, so there is no sin upon them if the woman pays to get her release. These are the limits of Allah. Do not exceed them. And those who transgress the limits of Allah, so only those people are unjust. This talaq-e raj'i, revocable divorce, is up to 2 times. Thereafter, if another talaq is executed, then this is irrevocable. It is also mentioned in this verse that if you fear that the husband and his wife will not remain on those exact limits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning the hududullah, and for this reason it is no sin upon them if the woman pays in the form of khula to get her release if she does not want to remain in the marriage, and that the husband sets her free by accepting the payment. These are the limits, as the verse says in the Quran, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is impermissible to exceed them, and one who does exceed those limits, then he has been declared as the unjust. فَإِن طَلَّقَهَا فَلَا تَحِلُّ لَهُ مِن بَعْدُ حَتَّى تَنْكِحَ زَوْجًا غَيْرَهُ فَإِن طَلَّقَهَا فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِمَا أَن يَتَرَاجَعَا إِن ظَنَّا أَن يُقِيمَا حُدُودَ اللَّهِ وَتِلْكَ حُدُودُ اللَّهِ يُبَيِّنُهَا لِقَوْمٍ يَعْلَمُونَ. If he then divorced her a 3rd time, so she will not be lawful for him now until she lives as a wife with another husband. If the second husband then divorces her, so it is no sin for these two, meaning the woman and the first husband, to reunite by marriage if they think that they now will adhere to the limits of Allah. And these are the limits of Allah which he explains to the intelligent. So after divorcing her a 3rd time, meaning issuing a 3rd talaq, she will not be lawful for him until after the iddah of the first husband. And thereafter she lives as a wife with the second husband, meaning she now has someone else who is a husband. It does not suggest in any way that she can have an additional husband to the first, as the marriage to the first has now been terminated. This new husband of hers will also be required to perform intercourse with her. Then if this new husband divorced her, then there is no sin for these two, meaning the woman and her previous husband, to reunite by marriage after the iddah, the waiting period, has been established by her new husband. If they both now think that they will adhere to the limits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the hudud of Allah, which he explains to the intelligent ones as mentioned in the verse of the Quran. 3 talaqs, divorces, whether given in 3 months, in 1 day, or in 1 sitting, or in 1 sentence, in any case, all 3 talaqs will be executed. They will not be considered as 1 talaq. And the wife will instantaneously become haram upon her husband. After 3 talaqs, without following the Islamic legal procedure of halala as explained in this verse, it is haram for the couple to continue to live together and to have intercourse. It will be equivalent to living with a woman of the street, meaning a stranger. So-called scholars who try to cause reconciliation without the advice or without establishing halala between such couples who are separate due to 3 talaqs are advocating and are involved in this extremely grave sin. وَإِذَا طَلَّقْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ فَبَلَغْنَ أَجَلَهُنَّ فَأَمْسِكُوهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفٍ أَوْ سَرِّحُوهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفٍ وَلَا تُمْسِكُوهُنَّ ضِرَارًا لِتَعْتَدُوا وَمَنْ يَفْعَلْ ذَلِكَ فَقَدْ ظَلَمَ نَفْسَهُ وَلَا تَتَّخِذُوا آيَاتِ اللَّهِ هُزُوًا واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم وما أنزل عليكم من الكتاب والحكمة يعظكم به واتقوا الله واعلموا أن الله بكل شيء عليم. And when you divorce women and their prescribed period, meaning iddah is close to completion, so either keep them on good terms within this period or release them with kindness. And keeping them should not be for the purpose of hurting them, that you transgress the limits. And he who does so harms himself only. And do not make the verses of Allah an object of mockery. And remember the favor of Allah bestowed upon you and that favor sent down to you. The book, meaning the Quran, and wisdom, meaning the Sunnah, for your guidance. And keep fearing Allah and know that Allah knows everything. So keeping them with the intention of making a home and settling with them within this iddah period is what is being referred to here. Or releasing them with gentleness, meaning divorce them. In addition, it mentions that keeping them should not be for the purpose of oppressing them or harassing them in any way, as you will be transgressing the hududullah, the limits set by Allah. And whoever does exceed the limit set by Allah, then he will be punished for this. This is how he is harming himself. Also, it is mentioned that you should not make a mockery of the commands of Allah by disobeying them. And one should bear in mind the favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and keep fearing Him and know that nothing can be hidden from Him. And He knows everything. وَإِذَا طَلَّقْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ فَبَلَغْنَ أَجَلَهُنَّ فَلَا تَعْدُلُوهُنَّ أَن يَنْكِحْنَ أَزْوَاجَهُنَّ إِذَا تَرَاضَوْا بَيْنَهُمْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ ذَلِكَ يُؤَذُ بِهِ مَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ ذَلِكُمْ أَزْكَى لَكُمْ وَأَطْهَرُ وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. And when you have divorced women and they complete their waiting period, meaning the iddah, so, O guardians of such women, do not prevent them from marrying their husbands if they agree amongst themselves in accordance with Islamic law. This advice is given to the one amongst you who believes in Allah and the last day. This is purer and cleaner for you, and Allah knows and you know not. The reason for the revelation of this verse was that the sister of Ma'qil ibn Yasar radiyallahu anhu was given a revocable divorce by her husband, who then wanted to remarry her, but Ma'qil refused. So it is said to the Muslims that when you have divorced women and they've completed their iddah of divorce, then, O guardians of such divorced women, you shouldn't prevent them from marrying their old or new husbands. وَالْوَالِدَاتُ يُرْضِعْنَ أَوْلَادَهُنَّ حَوْلَيْنِ كَامِلَيْنِ لِمَنْ أَرَادَ أَنْ يُتِمَّ الرَّضَاعَةَ وَعَلَى الْمَوْلُودِ لَهُ رِزْقُهُنَّ وَقِسْوَتُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ لَا تُكَلَّفُ نَفْسٌ إِلَّا وُسْعَهَا لَا تُضَارَّ وَالِدَةٌ بِوَلَدِهَا وَلَا مَوْلُودٌ لَهُ بِوَلَدِهِ وَعَلَى الْوَارِثِ مِثْلُ ذَلِكَ فإن أرادا فصالا عن تراض منهما وتشاور فلا جناح عليهما وَإِنْ أَرَدْتُمْ أَن تَسْتَرْضِعُوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْكُمْ إِذَا سَلَّمْتُم مَّا آتَيْتُم بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ بَصِيرٌ. And mothers should suckle their babies for 2 complete years for those who wish to complete the period of suckling. And to whom the child belongs, meaning the father, must provide food and clothing for the breastfeeding women in accordance with the custom. No soul shall be burdened except with what it can bear. A mother should not be harmed because of her child, nor the father be harmed because of his child. Nor the mother harm her child, nor the father harm his children. And the same is incumbent on the guardian in the place of the father. If both the mother and the father then desire to wean the child by mutual consent and consultation, so there is no sin upon them. And if you wish to have your children suckled by foster mothers, there is no sin upon you too, provided you pay them what is agreed with kindness. And keep fearing Allah, and know that Allah is observing your deeds. So suckling babies for mothers is for 2 complete years. Beyond 2 years, it is impermissible, although rida'a will be established up to 2.5 years. وَالَّذِينَ يُتَوَفَّوْنَ مِنْكُمْ وَيَذَرُونَ أَزْوَاجًا يَتَرَبَّصْنَ بِأَنفُسِهِنَّ 4 أشهر وعشرا فإذا بلغن أجلهن فلا جناح عليكم فيما فعلن في أنفسهن بالمعروف والله بما تعملون خبير. And those amongst you who die leaving wives behind, they, meaning the widows, should restrain themselves for 4 months and 10 days in accordance to the lunar calendar. Therefore, when their term iddah has completed, so, O guardians of such women, there is no sin upon you in what the women may do for themselves in accordance with Islamic law, and Allah is aware of your actions. So this period of 4 months and 10 days, the iddah period for widows, applies to women who are not pregnant. The waiting period in the case of pregnant women is until childbirth. The verse also stipulates that there is no sin upon you in what the women may do in regards to marriage for themselves, as long as it is in accordance with Islamic law, which means that if they want to marry, then let them do so, and one should be supportive of this move. وَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِيمَا أَرَّدْتُمْ بِهِ مِنْ خِطْبَةِ النِّسَاءِ أَوْ أَكْنَنْتُمْ فِي أَنفُسِكُمْ عَلِمَ اللَّهُ أَنَّكُمْ سَتَذْكُرُونَهُنَّ وَلَكِنْ لَا تُوَاعِدُوهُنَّ سِرًّا إلا أن تقولوا قولا معروفا ولا تعزموا عقدة النكاح حتى يبلغ الكتاب أجله واعلموا أن الله يعلم ما في أنفسكم فاحذروه واعلموا أن الله غفور حليم. And there is no sin upon you if you propose marriage to women in an indirectly concealed manner, or keep it hidden in your hearts until iddah is over. Allah knows that now you will remember them for marriage. Yes, do not make a secret promise with them except by respectful words recognized by Islamic law. And do not tie the knot of marriage until the prescribed command, meaning the iddah period, reaches its completion. Know that Allah knows what is in your hearts. Therefore, fear Him, and know that Allah is most forgiving, most forbearing. So proposing to women who are in their iddah period in an indirect and concealed respectful manner means paying her expenses, for example, during the iddah, saying that I need to get married, etc., and not propose to her, but start to show some care by looking after her by paying her expenses, or saying words such as Allah Azza wa Jal will not inflict any hardship upon you, or keep the thought of marrying them hidden in your hearts until the iddah is over. لا جناح عليكم إن طلقتم النساء ما لم تمسوهن أو تفرضوا لهن فريضة ومتعوهن على الموسع قدره وعلى المقتر قدره متاعا بالمعروف حقا على المحسنين. There is no demand of dowry upon you if you divorce women until you have not touched them or have not appointed their dowry. And give them something of use, meaning a complete set of clothing. The rich according to his means and the poor according to his means. A fair provision according to Islamic custom. This is necessary upon the doers of good. So there is no demand of dowry upon you if you divorce women and you had no intercourse with them. Bearing in mind that complete privacy between husband and wife, whereby they are secluded in such a way that there is nothing preventing them from having intercourse, holds the same ruling as actually having intercourse itself, or the fact that you have not appointed their dowry. So in such a case, give them something of use, like a set of clothing, which comprises dress, pants, and a scarf, etc. وَإِن طَلَّقْتُمُوهُنَّ مِن قَبْلِ أَن تَمَسُّوهُنَّ وَقَدْ فَرَضْتُمْ لَهُنَّ فَرِيضَةً فَنِصْفُ مَا فَرَضْتُمْ إِلَّا أَن يَعْفُونَ أَوْ يَعْفُوَ الَّذِي بِيَدِهِ عُقْدَةُ النِّكَاحِ وَأَن تَعْفُوا أَقْرَبُ لِلتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَنْسَوُا الْفَضْلَ بَيْنَكُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ بَصِيرٌ. And if you divorce women before consummation and have already fixed some dowry for them, so payment of half of what is agreed is necessary unless the women leave part of it, or the one in whose hand the knot of marriage is, meaning the husband, should give more. And, O men, your giving more is nearest to piety, and do not forget to do favors upon each other. Indeed, Allah is observing your actions. So in this verse it is mentioned that وَلَا تَنْسَوُا الْفَضْلَ بَيْنَكُمْ, meaning do not forget to do favors upon one another, means that after divorce there should be no ill feeling between the couple, and one should remember that Allah is observing one's deeds. حافظوا على الصلوات والصلاة الوسطى وقوموا لله قانتين. Guard all your salahs, and particularly the middle salah, and stand with courtesy in the majestic court of Allah. How can one guard the salah? This means maintaining the 5 daily prayers, performing them regularly and correctly and in congregation at the stipulated times, especially the middle salah. According to most mufassirun, this is the Salatul Asr, and one should stand with devotion in the majestic court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ فَرِجَالًا أَوْ رُكْبَانًا فَإِذَا أَمِنْتُمْ فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ كَمَا عَلَّمَكُمْ مَا لَمْ تَكُونُوا تَعْلَمُونَ. If you are then in fear of enemies or wild animals, so perform salah whilst on foot or whilst riding in any way possible. When you then have no fear, therefore remember Allah in the way He has taught you, that which you knew not. So in such cases when one is in fear, facing the direction of Qibla will not be necessary as compared to when there is no fear. Allah is the one who taught you the obligations of salah and how to establish the salah correctly. وَالَّذِينَ يُتَوَفَّوْنَ مِنْكُمْ وَيَذَرُونَ أَزْوَاجًا وَصِيَّةً لِأَزْوَاجِهِمْ مَتَاعًا إِلَى الْحَوْلِ غَيْرَ إِخْرَاجٍ فَإِنْ خَرَجْنَ فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِيمَا فَعَلْنَ فِي أَنفُسِهِنَّ مِنْ مَعْرُوفٍ وَاللَّهُ عَزِيزٌ حَكِيمٌ. And those amongst you who die leaving wives behind should make a will for their wives with complete provision for 1 full year without evicting them. This aforementioned law has been abrogated. Then if they leave on their own accord, then there is no accountability on you regarding what they did in their matter according to their desire in a suitable manner. And Allah is overpowering, all-wise. In the commentary to this verse, it is mentioned that previously the iddah of a widow was 1 complete year, which has been abrogated now with ayah number 234 of Suratul Baqarah. And the law of making a will has been abrogated with the law of inheritance, which is mentioned in verse number 12 of Surah Nisa. So if they leave their residence on their own accord, then, O guardians, there is no accountability upon you regarding what they do according to their desire in a suitable Islamic manner, such as adorning themselves, abandoning the mourning, or preparing for remarriage, etc. وَلِلْمُطَلَّقَاتِ مَتَاعٌ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ حَقًّا عَلَى الْمُتَّقِينَ. And for divorced women also is provision in a proper manner. This is compulsory upon the pious. In the commentary it is mentioned that providing provision for the divorced woman in her iddah period is an obligation upon the husband to conduct this in accordance with Islamic law. And this is compulsory upon the pious. كَذَلِكَ يُبَيِّنُ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ آيَاتِهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ. This is how Allah explains His verses to you so that you may understand. Meaning so that you may understand them and actually implement them.